There are people who don't need to hate you to want to see you fall. They don't raise their voice, don't insult you, don't tear you down in front of others. They simply step back, smile, and plant seeds of doubt in others' minds. They don't strike with fists, but with whispers. And then, when you begin to react, when you lose control, they just sit there, calm, feigning innocence. In the eyes of others, you're the problem. And them? They're just concerned. But don't be fooled. Silent sabotage is the sweetest poison for those who can't control you. We don't always see the ones who seek to harm us, because they don't reveal themselves through anger, they mask their intent with friendliness. Stoic philosophy reminds us, it's how we respond, not what happens, that determines who truly holds power over our lives. Every person has a choice, to live governed by the words and schemes of others, or to live with clarity, self-control, and confidence in one's inner worth. And if you learn to observe without reacting, you'll begin to notice every sign. Now, let's identify the kinds of people quietly working to break you so you'll never be caught off guard again. 1. They twist the truth to tarnish your image. They won't attack you with the truth. They'll pick something small, something vague, and twist it just slightly. Add in a vague remark, a deliberate expression, and pass it to a third party, someone who knows nothing of what actually happened. And just like that, a rumor is born. No evidence, no conversation. Just a seed of doubt, enough to fracture how others see you. People who once trusted you now look at you as if you're hiding something. You think you can explain, that if you just tell the truth, everything will clear up. But you realize too late. Once doubt is planted, people stop listening with reason. They listen with fear, with bias skillfully embedded in them. And truth, no matter how clear, loses its power when it arrives after a lie has already spread. What hurts most isn't the falsehood. It's the silence of those who once understood you, the way their eyes avoid yours, the distance you didn't create but must now step into. You feel you've been pushed into an invisible courtroom where you are the defendant, and the jury is made up of people who used to smile at you every day. But this is the moment to remember what Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations. If someone speaks ill of you unfairly, do not waste your time arguing. Live so that no one believes it. That advice is not just philosophy, it's a strategy. Because if you react hastily, if you scream to defend yourself, they'll say, "See, that loss of control proves what we suspected." Truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. It only needs you to keep living consistently. Consistency over time dismantles every lie scripted and performed. People may believe a falsehood temporarily, but they cannot deny the steady integrity of a life lived with decency and honor. I witnessed this in my closest friend Min, a respected engineer in his company. When he was promoted to team leader, another colleague quietly spread rumors that Min had a personal relationship with the director. No one said it aloud, but the air around him shifted. Greetings became awkward. Congratulations disappeared. Min didn't get angry, didn't call a meeting to set things straight. He just kept working, more gracious than usual, more transparent in every decision. 6 months later, the very person who spread the rumors was exposed as someone who had slandered others in the company. Min never said a word, but his reputation grew stronger, not because he defended himself, but because he didn't need to. You see, no one can block every rumor, but everyone can choose how to live when rumors arise. When they distort the truth, the first thing you must do is remain calm. Don't rush to confront. Let time sort truth from fabrication, because those who live by manipulation will sooner or later contradict themselves. And you, if you live by principle, won't need many words, because truth stands on its own. Second, don't let distortion rob you of self-respect. The more someone knows their worth, the less they're shaken by whispers. Those who seek to damage your name aren't just after your reputation, they're after your inner balance. They want you agitated, reactive, petty, so they can sit back and say, "Told you." Don't give them that privilege. And finally, hold your ground. Integrity isn't proven by never being misunderstood, but by staying true to your values, even when you are. That's why Epictetus said, "No one can disgrace you unless you lose your own dignity." Reputation can be taken from you temporarily, but character, if guarded daily, is a shield no one can pierce. So don't rush to defend yourself when they twist the truth. Live deeper, act kinder, and observe in silence. Because truth, like the sun, can be hidden behind clouds for a time, but it never disappears. And when it rises, no one will believe in the shadows anymore. 2. They provoke you to lose your composure. Attacks don't always come in the form of direct insults. Sometimes they arrive as sarcastic jokes, a raised eyebrow full of implication, or a seemingly harmless comment repeated precisely when you're most vulnerable. Those who want to undermine you don't need to use force. All they need is to push you slightly toward emotional instability and let you destroy your own image. This trap is designed with precision. At first, they say things that confuse you, but still stay within the realm of what's acceptable. A subtle jab in a meeting, a mocking smile when you speak, a message implying you're overdoing it. You try to brush it off, thinking maybe you're too sensitive, but then it happens again. This time, in front of more people, in a more public setting, with more deliberate intent. And then the inevitable happens. You react. You raise your voice. Emotion shows on your face. You interrupt, you argue, or you challenge them directly. And in that moment they pull back, open their eyes wide as if they're the victim. They feign shock at your reaction and say, "I just asked a simple question." The crowd looks on, unaware of the context, and for a brief moment, you become the one who's out of control. No more words are needed, they've already won. This is the art of provocation. No violence, no blatant insults, just enough pressure for you to overreact and lose the very image you've worked to build. And the cruel truth is, most people only see your reaction, not the chain of events that led to it. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius emphasized, "The strong man is not one who strikes back with fists, but one who remains calm under provocation." A Stoic doesn't passively submit, but he also refuses to let others dictate his emotional state. He understands a simple truth. Reaction is a double-edged sword. React well, and it's power. React poorly, and it's a self-inflicted wound. I saw this clearly during a leadership training course. A man named Long Calm, capable, was repeatedly interrupted by another trainee. His presentation was mocked, his ideas belittled. For 3 sessions, Long stayed composed, but on the 4th day, after a public jab, he snapped. He raised his voice, flushed with anger. The other man just smirked and turned to the group. "I was just giving feedback. Why the overreaction?" The room fell silent. No one remembered what Long had endured. Only one impression remained. He had lost his temper, and the provocateur sat there calm, victorious. But the real story is that Long didn't let that moment define him. He returned the next day, no excuses, no complaints. From then on, he responded with calm silence. Every jab met with steady eyes and focused words. He refused to engage, and slowly, the other man lost momentum. Without reaction, his games fell flat. By the end of the course, those who once doubted long now admired his composure and growth. That's when I truly understood Seneca's words. The wise man never lets anger define him. So how do you escape this trap? First, recognize the signs. When someone says or does something that irrationally offends you, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what are they hoping to get from my reaction? That question alone strips away much of their power. Next, respond with action, not emotion. You don't need total silence, but you must speak with intention, not impulse. If someone mocks you in a meeting, respond with a level of grace that unsettles them. Say, I understand you have a different view, but I'll continue my presentation. Then proceed with calm confidence. That's a counter-strike they can't prepare for. Finally, understand that composure is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. People are not judged by how they act when all is well, but by how they hold themselves under pressure. And when you face provocation without losing yourself, you not only protect your image, you elevate it. No one can force you to react unless you let them. No one can turn you into the villain if you stay lucid. And in this world, perhaps there's no image more powerful than a person who chooses stillness in chaos, silence in noise, and steadiness when others crave their downfall. 3. They manipulate your emotions to control you. Not all forms of control are easy to spot. Some people never yell at you, never demand, never give direct orders. They do it by making you feel guilty. They don't say, do as I say. They just sigh and remark, I don't think you're the same person you used to be. They don't forbid you, but constantly repeat that you're disappointing them. And you begin to ask yourself, have I really changed that much? Am I being selfish, or am I actually wrong? That is emotional manipulation. A silent but highly effective form of control because it makes you question yourself. They don't need to raise their voice. They only need to plant seeds of uncertainty inside you. Over time, you're no longer sure of what's right. You apologize for things you didn't do wrong. You go along with what they want, not because you agree, but because you don't want to hurt them. And from that moment on, you've lost the self-command you once had. What's more frightening is that this manipulation is disguised as affection. They say they're doing it out of love, concern, a desire for your well-being. They could be a close friend, a partner, a family member, or a colleague who knows you best. But you begin to notice one thing. Every time you do something for yourself, they react as if you've betrayed them. That is not love. That is control. True love creates space for you to be yourself even when that self doesn't match their expectations. But control uses affection like a rope around your neck the moment you move too far. It tightens and you can't breathe. Epictetus once said, if you want to be free, you must first learn not to be ruled by things beyond your control, including praise, criticism, and other people's emotions. When someone uses their emotions to make you change your behavior, you are no longer living for yourself. You are living to avoid hurting others, even when you've done nothing wrong. I saw this happen to one of my students, Khan, a gifted young man with dreams of studying abroad and pursuing psychology. But every time he mentioned applying overseas, his mother cried. No objections, no demands, just tears and the words, I'm just afraid of being too far from you. I can't bear it. At first, Khan tried to move forward, but the guilt crept in. He began to feel wrong for wanting something for himself. In the end, he gave up his dream not because it had changed, but because he couldn't bear to make his mother sad. That's what emotional manipulation creates: guilt for choosing yourself. If you've ever been in that situation, remember this: not everyone who makes you feel guilty is right. And just because you make someone sad doesn't mean you're wrong. You have the right to prioritize yourself, the right to make decisions without asking for permission, the right to say no to anything that feels wrong to you, no matter how much they claim to love you. The first thing you must do is recognize the manipulation pattern. If someone makes you feel like you always need to apologize for being yourself, if they make you feel like you need approval to chase what you want, then that's not affection, it's a silent trap. The second is to learn to separate their emotions from your responsibility. You're not obligated to carry anyone else's feelings. You can be empathetic, but you don't need to collapse so others feel better. And finally, remember that inner freedom is the foundation of all dignity. Once you learn to see the manipulator clearly, you reclaim not just your autonomy, but your trust in yourself, which they tried to take piece by piece. A Stoic is not cold or indifferent. On the contrary, they feel deeply, but they don't let others' emotions steer them off their path. They know kindness is not submission, and real love never comes with control. So if someone is making you feel guilty for growing, for changing, for becoming stronger, understand this. It's not love. It's fear of losing control, and you don't owe them your self-sacrifice. You owe yourself one thing only, to live in truth with who you are becoming. 4. They won't stop until you collapse. Not everyone wants to see you succeed, but what's more unsettling, some won't even allow you to stand firm. Some people aren't merely jealous. They go beyond spreading rumors, emotional traps, or damaging your reputation. For them, it's not enough that you're tired or doubting yourself. They want to see you completely break. They don't want you to pause, they want you gone. This is the highest level of silent destruction. These people don't want to outcompete you, don't want to beat you to an opportunity. They want to erase you from the map, to see you so worn down that you no longer exist in the game. And worse still, they don't do it openly. They do it with cold persistence, through indirect, relentless, and ruthless strikes. They'll talk to those who influence your career just to share a few concerns, planting doubts wrapped in language that sounds reasonable. They'll use others to transmit toxic signals so you won't know where to begin. They'll turn every minor mistake into proof of a bigger lie, that you're not worthy. And when you begin to tire, when you start feeling isolated, when you question yourself, that's when they move in closer. Because what they seek isn't a single failure. It's the moment you quit. When you give up. When you stop trying. When you disappear from the space that once belonged to you and leave it open for them. That's when they feel victorious. No need to expose you, no need for direct confrontation. All they need is for you to be too exhausted to go on. Seneca once wrote, "True strength lies not in striking back, but in enduring without losing dignity." That doesn't mean bottling up resentment. It is the highest form of self-command. To stay upright, not dragged down. To remain unchanged by the malice of others. Because if you let them turn you bitter, you've given them what they wanted, a replica of themselves, mirrored in you. I saw this in a woman named Vi, a young entrepreneur who founded a small creative company. At first, an old friend, now a rival, helped her. But as Vi's company grew, help turned to jealousy, then to sabotage. Her social media accounts were hacked, contracts quietly sabotaged, anonymous complaints sent to investors. Vi didn't know what was happening until the picture became clear. When I asked her why she didn't speak out, she said something I'll never forget. "They want me to lose it, to curse, to give up. But if I keep living with integrity, if I do better each day, they'll be angry at themselves. I don't need to lower myself to retaliate. Not everyone can walk through such a storm and remain composed. But it is there amid that chaos that character is revealed." When you find yourself surrounded by those who want to see you fall, remember 3 things. First, don't play by their rules. They want your reaction. They want your outrage. They want you to do something they can twist into their next weapon. But if you don't engage, if you walk away with powerful silence and stay focused on your path, they'll become lost in the game they created. Second, stay consistent in your actions. You don't need to respond to every blow. Turn resistance into growth. Do better. Live better. Evolve stronger. Success is the one thing they cannot stand. And finally, see adversity as an opportunity to forge inner virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You may not control your circumstances, but you always control your response." Your enemy may set the battlefield, but you decide whether to enter. You decide when to speak, when to stay silent, when to retreat, and when to move forward. That power they can't take. And if you're still standing dignified, calm, unbroken after all they've done, you've already won. Not by striking back, but by refusing to collapse. When others try to drag you into the dark, be the one who guards the light inside. No one else needs to see it. It's enough that you know you didn't fall, and that is victory. 5. They pretend to be your friend, to extract personal information. Some people don't enter your life to share. They come to collect. Not concern, not friendship, just information. They don't ask directly. They start by revealing things first. Private stories, just between us. Secrets. Deliberate confessions designed to lower your guard. Bit by bit, they encourage you to share what you've never told anyone. Plans that aren't fully formed. Relationships still undefined. Wounds you've kept hidden. You think they're listening because they care. In truth, they're gathering data waiting to use it as ammunition. What traps you isn't naivety. It's the desire for genuine connection. Everyone longs to be understood, to be trusted, to be fully seen without defense. And those who pretend to be friends are skilled at exploiting that. They know how to create a sense of safety. They compliment at the right moment, empathize at the right time, and create the illusion that, if this person understands me this well, they must be good. But then one day, something you said in confidence is repeated in public. A sentence of yours, cut and twisted, spreads in a way that makes you look bad. A fragile belief you once voiced becomes a joke among strangers. That's when you realize they didn't listen to build a relationship. They were collecting bullets for the day they'd shoot you down. Epictetus once taught, "Never give your whole heart to anyone until you know whether they can govern themselves." A person who can't keep their own secrets will never keep yours. Someone who gossips to you about others will soon gossip about you. That's a trait, not a circumstance. I remember a woman named Ngok who worked in communications. She grew close to an older colleague who seemed supportive, always asking about her career, personal plans, even her love life. Ngok felt she had found a trusted older sister. But one day, when conflict broke out within the team, the things she had shared privately were used against her in a meeting. That trusted sister didn't lie. She simply stripped the context, added a few details, and framed her words in a way that made Ngok seem untrustworthy. Ngok didn't lose her job, but she lost her trust. Not only in the other person, but in herself, for having trusted too much. And that's the real cost of betrayal by those who wear the mask of friendship. You begin to doubt your own intuition. So how do you protect yourself without becoming cold and suspicious of everyone? First, observe, don't rush to open up. People who are trustworthy won't pressure you to share. They're patient. They share in return, and they respect boundaries when you're not ready. In contrast, those who are only after information ask quickly, probe deeply, and shift off topic while offering very little about themselves. Second, test with small pieces. Don't hand over the whole picture of your life just because someone gets you. Share something small, something unimportant, and watch where it ends up. If it quickly becomes a topic among others, you've got your answer. Third, understand that guarding personal information is not a lack of sincerity. Stoics are not closed off, but they understand this. Not everyone deserves entry into your mind, because your mind is the final territory of freedom. When you let the wrong person in, you open the door to manipulation, doubt, and betrayal. And finally, learn to trust stillness. Inner maturity is shown not by how much you share, but by your comfort in keeping parts of yourself private. Some things are meant to remain yours alone. Some pains only need your quiet strength to witness. No one else needs to know. No one else needs to validate. Don't let loneliness rush you into trusting those who know how to listen, but not how to keep your trust. Don't let your desire to be understood make you easy to use. And never forget, true friendship doesn't demand excavation. It's quietly built through safety, not curiosity. 6. They isolate you from the people who support you. One of the most subtle and ruthless tactics used by those who wish to destroy you is not to attack you directly, but to fracture the relationships around you. They know that as long as you remain connected to people who understand, uplift, and believe in you, you still have strength. So instead of coming at you head-on, they begin bending the reality around you, little by little, quietly, without you realizing it. It starts with what seem like harmless whispers. I've noticed they've changed lately. Do you feel like they're a bit distant? Questions that don't accuse, just plant doubt. No one suspects deliberate division, but suspicion starts to creep in. Handshakes become weaker, conversations grow hesitant, and you start to feel yourself pulled out of the circle you once thought was safe. The danger lies not in the speed, but in the slow burn. Because by the time you realize you're being isolated, any attempt to explain sounds defensive. If you speak up, you seem paranoid. If you stay quiet, the misunderstandings grow. Either way, you're pushed further from those who once supported you, and the person behind it all just smiles, remaining outside the conflict, pretending to be uninvolved while the cracks spread through your relationships. But why do they do it? Because isolation weakens you. A person alone is easier to manipulate, more prone to self-doubt, quicker to surrender. There's no one left to remind you of your worth. No one to see the best in you. And when all that's left is the voice of the manipulator, they take the seat left behind by those who used to love you. Seneca once said, "Choose companions who make you better, and whom you also make better." Healthy relationships don't crumble from a few whispers when built on true understanding. But to keep such relationships, you must also protect them. I remember a friend named Hoa. She was a diligent employee, respected by her boss and admired by her colleagues. Then a new hire came along, polite, charming, skilled at connecting with everyone. Soon this person began sharing with various co-workers that Hoa had been gossiping about them, or that she was trying to grab all the work. These things were never said to her face, just small concerns out of care. The result? Those who were once close to Hoa began to distance themselves, avoid her, and look at her with suspicion. Hoa didn't understand what was happening, but instead of reacting harshly, she remained patient and let her integrity speak through her daily actions. Eventually, the truth came out, and the one spreading division was rejected by the team. So what should you do when you feel yourself being isolated? First, don't panic. The feeling of abandonment can make you desperate to explain, to regain trust. But sometimes the more you justify, the more guilty you seem. Stay steady. Those who truly understand you won't give up on you because of second-hand whispers. Second, don't turn on everyone. Not everyone who is silent is your enemy. Some people are just caught between their trust in you and the noise they're hearing. Let time and your actions speak for you. And finally, understand that isolation can't destroy you unless you let it rob you of belief in yourself. Those who truly belong in your life will return. Those who leave have shown you they were never meant to walk the long road with you. Just as light may be temporarily hidden by shadow, your value doesn't fade just because someone tries to obscure it. Keep shining in your own way. Those who know how to see will always find you. 7. They undermine your confidence with toxic feedback. Some feedback isn't meant to help you grow. It's crafted to make you shrink. Not everyone who says, "I just want what's best for you," truly wants you to flourish. Some say it only to mask a deeper intent to erode your confidence from within. They don't confront you outright, don't yell, don't openly criticize. They act concerned, gentle, even affectionate, but every word they speak plants a subtle doubt in your mind. After each conversation, you leave feeling, "Something's wrong with me, but I don't know what it is." They might start with comments like, "I don't think you're ready for that responsibility," or "I've been where you are, I know what it's like to be delusional." Or more cunningly, "I'm just being honest because I care." Others wouldn't dare say it. At first, you think they have a point, and because their words come wrapped in kindness, you hesitate to push back. But over time, you begin second-guessing every decision, tiptoeing through every opportunity, questioning yourself at every new door that opens. That is their goal, to make you doubt your own ability and worth. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If something external shakes you, it's because you've allowed it to." And here, the shaking doesn't always come from dramatic events. It can begin with small, repeated suggestions that gradually wear down your trust in your own instincts. I once knew a man named Koa, a young, passionate, talented architect. When he accepted a project designing an art space for a boutique hotel, his close colleague didn't object directly, but kept dropping comments like, "Your style isn't refined enough. This client is difficult." Or, "I worry you haven't seen enough yet to handle this kind of job." At first, Koa stood by his vision, but gradually he began reworking his designs, second-guessing the ideas he once took pride in, and nearly walked away from the project. Only when a former mentor reviewed his original plans and called them distinctive and compelling did Koa realize he had been manipulated by someone he trusted. Confidence is not something you build once and keep forever. It's a flame that must be guarded from toxic winds. And sometimes those closest to you are that wind. So how can you tell the difference between honest feedback and harmful critique? First, notice how you feel after each conversation. Genuine feedback leaves you clearer even if it stings your pride. Toxic feedback leaves you feeling smaller, confused, and vaguely unsure of yourself. Second, examine the motive and the context. Constructive advice focuses on actions, behavior, and offers concrete suggestions. Destructive advice is vague, generalized, and often puts you on the defensive. And finally, always return to your inner strength. Epictetus once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." True confidence doesn't come from others' approval, but from living in alignment with your abilities, values, and path, regardless of what anyone says. Don't let a quiet whisper drown out the louder voice within. Because if you lose trust in yourself, you'll start following a path designed by others, a path that, in the end, may only lead to your failure for their satisfaction. Be alert and protect that fire of self-belief as if you're guarding your very soul. I used to think the deepest wounds came from direct blows, harsh words, heated arguments, or public betrayal. But over time, I've realized what truly breaks a person often comes from the quiet, subtle, and hard-to-spot things: a seemingly harmless piece of advice, a doubtful glance, a whispered rumor, or a friend who always claims to understand you best. These are not strong enough to provoke immediate reaction, but persistent enough to make you question yourself. And if you're not mindful, you won't just lose your image in others' eyes, you'll lose yourself in your own mind. So I've learned to step back, observe more carefully, remain silent when needed, and never react hastily to any behavior meant to pull me out of inner stillness. Because the strong are not those who always win, but those who don't let the world strip them of themselves. If you felt that something in this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future content. We'll continue this journey together toward clarity of self and a life aligned with our core values. And don't forget, the moment you're calm enough not to meet wrong with haste, you've already begun to reclaim your power. I'll see you in the next video.